Welcome back to the Quackadrome. Things went rather well last time. Let's see if we can continue with that. Last time around, we got lights working, we got speedos working, we got backlights working, we got the starter working more than anything. This time around, maybe with a little help from you guys, we're going to see if it's going to start. Yeah, we're going to hook that up. We're going to hook these up somehow. Wire it all up and see if it'll fire up. And then we'll tidy all that up. So stay tuned for the fire up. Don't worry, we take precautions. I know. Have you ever seen such a mess? Well, don't worry. It's just copious amounts of wire, because I didn't want to cut it too short. And we're going to work all that out once we've got everything else sorted out. It'll be neat and tidy, I promise. I mean, right now, that's pretty neat and tidy, right? Compared to that. I'm getting better at this. Practice makes perfect, so they say. So, to replace these two lockable switches, I've ordered two momentaries, double momentary switches. Because these little boxes prefer just a one pulse. So that's what we're going to do up here. Now, in all the confusion, the other thing I forgot to ask you guys about is the ignition side of things. And most importantly, the input for the ignition. So at the moment, the ignition key is our red wire, which provides power. Just general power to the speedo, running light, etc. And then of course we got the white wire, which is the ignition. Now that would normally go to the kill switch, but effectively our ignition key is a kill switch. It's just a button. That boy there. So the question I should have asked, and the assumption I'm going to make, is that both those wires should go to the kill switch, right? They should both get power at the same time, ignition and general stuff. Right? Is that right? That's what we're going to do anyway. But before we get on to that, and on a similar subject, I've been looking at tidying all this up and contemplating what I'm going to do with all the earths that are going to come forward to all the switch gear up here and the headlight and some of this probably. And I've had a thought on that. I mean, obviously I don't need 12 or however many I got there, but we do have this little guy coming off the negative terminal, which I think went to that. I think that went to the regulator. But what I'm thinking is all these switches are just sending tiny little electrical pulses back to the unit, right? So no great voltage or ampage or whatever. So what I'm thinking is I take one wire up the front here and then splice that off using one of these. What do you think? I think that'll work, right? We have our new double momentary switch, so we should probably test that before we actually bother fitting it. So I'm going to rig that up to the headlight here, and we'll test that, and we'll test the high beam. I don't think we did that, because if you remember, that was off the horn button. Remember testing whether that works or not. It's just a theory, I think, so we'll test that at the same time. Alright, we're all wired up slightly differently to advertised, which I'll go into in a minute. So we have power on where the headlight comes on immediately with the running light, and up here we can turn that off and then back on. And the beam, because it's running off the horn switch, doesn't need a momentary, it needs a lockable. And there's the beam off the original switch down here. Off, on, off, headlight off, main beam on. Blatantly obvious, really. The horn switch in the B box is obviously only designed to send power to the horn when the button is being pressed, i.e. a momentary, and as soon as you come off it, it stops going. So yeah, that was never going to work for the headlight with a momentary switch. So a lockable does actually put it on for the main beam. Should have thought of that in the first place. So what I need is another switch with one momentary for the headlight and one lockable for the main beam. So now we've got all that shenanigans sorted out, I suppose we need to get onto the ignition side of things. See if we can start it up or get a spark at least. Fingers crossed. Meanwhile, somewhat coincidentally, my good friend Marco at Plan B Moto is going through a similar exercise with his Yamaha, but with a NWT box of tricks. Yeah, so I'll leave a link for you guys in the description for that, because that's kind of parallel. It's an alternative unit. Do tune into his channel and of course subscribe while you're there. So naturally we've had some back and forth on what should go where, still none the wiser. So you may remember I said this was my theory on how to wire up the ignition stuff. So the question I should have asked, and the assumption I'm going to make, is that both those wires should go to the kill switch. Right, they should both get power at the same time, ignition and general stuff. Right, is that right? That's what we're going to do anyway. Yeah, no. This is what happened. Right, the main power switch, our ignition key, which is also doubling as a kill switch, is off right now. And this is the switch, the white wire, which is operating that button. So remember, it's off at the moment. So this is the input for the ignition, which we're just going to tuck in there, and everything comes on. Remember, the switch is off. Yeah, wasn't expecting that. So after some back and forth with the man himself, Mr. Axel Joost, who's very helpful, and his English is damn sight better than my German. Short answer is I could wire it in that way. I'd have to change some settings on the unit. That involves running through all this, which actually uses the right and left indicator buttons inputs to change the settings over here, depending on which one you press. And the alternative is to not wire the input for the ignition at all, because when you turn the ignition key input, as this boy up here, let's just do that. That's this boy. Alright, so now we have the ignition key is on, and the output to the ignition, which we've wired to this little test light, is receiving power, as you can see down there. So he's right. So the ignition key turns on both the ignition circuit and the general power to speedos and stuff like that. So that top input ignition key gives power to both power and ignition on the outputs. So having established that, what we need to do is hook it up to what it should be hooked up to, and I believe that for starters is the power into the regulator rectifier. There's a couple of questions I have on that as well, because we've got the green and the brown. I think the brown goes to, got the green and the brown here. Green goes to green. Brown, I think there's kind of a reddy brown colour coming out of there. I think that goes to that. Not sure. This boy here, is that brown? Looks brownish. So hopefully that's that. And then we got all this. So it goes off here. Ignition module. I don't think we got one of these. This is for a later model Yamaha. So don't think we got that. But somehow we got to get that same power to the coils. And at the moment all that stuff goes off down here, presumably down to the ignition stuff. There is this one which did go to a fuse, yeah, in there, one of the original 3 fuses, red and blue. Alright, there's brown connected up, and there's our ignition output to the rectifier regulator, Reggie. Yeah, so that's that one sorted. Now it's just this. Right, so we have ignition power to regulator rectifier. We've hooked up the starter motor again down here. Yellow output to the positive on that. So shall we see if we get a spark? I haven't done anything with the blue and red, as you can see. Okay, spark plug. Nothing. Not a total surprise. Well, we have got that red and yellow wire. Should we try something with that? Yeah, this one that goes into all that. Now, according to the wiring diagram, this should go to the starter button, start switch. I don't think that's going to work, but let's give it a go. And then, assuming it doesn't work, we'll try putting that to our ignition, so it's getting permanent power. Don't know if that's a good idea or not. Alright, so there's our purple wire from the momentary button, our ignition input, the yellow, which goes back to the B box, and now our yellow red, which goes to the coils. Yep, still no spark. So there's our ignition output, now split into 2. One coming in, one going off to the Reggie, and one yellow and black to the coils. Yep, still no spark. Not sure what to do now. Alright, final combination, blue and red into the ignition circuit, and yellow and red into the switch. Still zilch. At which point I run out of ideas, run out of talent, and need some help. So if any of you got any ideas, please let me know down below in the comments. While you're there, give the video the thumbs up if you thought it was any use at all, or mildly entertaining even, and subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Yep, that's it for now, till we get some ideas about what to do. So tune in next time. And yes, encourage others to watch my lunacy.